Welcome to Ecologic for the month of October. I'm your host, Roger Peak, and this is my co-host, Kash Schriefer. And we have been given permission by Harold to sit in for him while he is in rehab recovering from a stroke and watching the show. Shout out to Harold, wishing you all the best in your recovery. We know you've been working hard in rehab. This episode is dedicated to you and everything you've done for Louisiana's wetlands and forests. Title of this episode is a Get Well Roast for Harold Schoeffler. Now, before we get started, I recall how Harold always started each episode of Ecologic with a comment on the season and the weather. And I have to tell you that Acadiana is in a drought right now, and it's really dry.
How dry is it, Roger?
Well, it's so dry that the local dairy cows are giving out evaporated milk.
That's pretty dry.
It's so dry that when the babies are going to get baptized, the Baptists are shooting them with a squirt of water, the Methodists are using wet wipes, the Episcopals are giving out rain checks, and the Catholic Church is praying for wine to be turned back into water.
Biblical drought.
Absolutely. Now, moving on, Kash and I will each tell how we got to know Harold, tell a couple stories, then open the phone lines. Please, no calls until I give the word. Thank you. Also, we will have a few minutes later in the show for Harold to call in and defend himself. Shout out to David Begno holding down the control room. David has been helping Harold run this show for about 20 years. All right, for me, I was living in Baton Rouge in 2003, anticipating moving to Lafayette to be with my fiancée Rosalind, when I came across a great article about Harold in Outside Magazine. Now, you can Google this article. It's on the internet. Just look up Outside Magazine Harold Schoeffler. I told myself that when I moved to Lafayette, I needed to get to know Harold and join the Sierra Club. Well, I did so, but I got sidetracked and did not attend for a couple of years. So when I finally started attending, I was accused by Harold of being a Christmas party member, which means Sierra Club members who only show up once a year for the annual Christmas party. And when at that time, I hadn't been to one, so he hurt my feelings.
Good.
Thanks. Now I want to read brief highlights from the 2003 Outside Magazine article, which chronicles Harold's amazing list of achievements up to that point, showing clearly his conservation warrior bona fides. Quotes from the article. 2003. Schoeffler hosts a gloves-off local television show called Ecologic, which deals from everything from industrial toxic waste to marshland water levels. And across Louisiana, he's known for repeatedly challenging big oil and other industries in fights to protect the basin and the coastal waters of the Gulf. He's a contradiction, said Bruce Schultz, Acadiana Bureau Chief for The Advocate. On some issues, he's the only person to speak out. One day he might be critical of the oil business, and the next day he might invite some of the same people to go duck hunting or have them over to his house for dinner. One CEO of a large, heavy marine oil drilling equipment company has been battling Schoeffler for 3 decades. Tell everyone, I love Harold, he says. It's his stupidity and ignorance that drive me crazy. Whoa, that's harsh. The same guy was also quoted, the bubble in that man's head is not level. He's got a right to be wrong for 30 years. So Harold, you must have really pissed that guy off.
He can do it.
There you go. So what stands out to me most from the article is an account Harold gave of his beloved fishing ground, a shell reef in Vermilion Bay, that one day around 1950, he arrived to find it being dredged for shell driveways throughout the South. Fast forward to the 80s, when he was instrumental in litigation which shut down shell dredging in the Gulf, leading later on to the end of shell dredging in Lake Pontchartrain. 1987, Harold was instrumental instrumental in having the black bear classified as a threatened species, including the creation of 9,000-acre Bayou Teche National Wildlife Refuge, leading to a significant increase in the bear population. Unfortunately, this was undone in the 2000s, and now there's a bear hunting season again. Harold supported Sierra Club litigation forcing oil well produced water to be stored in old wells instead of being discharged into the marsh. 2002, involved in Sierra Club Delta chapter action against the EPA requiring a 10-year cleanup of most of our waterways. 1979, he found a little-known municipal fire code prohibiting the dumping of volatile materials down storm drains, leading to all the auto shops in Lafayette being required to recycle engine oil instead of dumping. One of the fun things back then was the outings. On canoe trips, by the time everyone launched, Harold and Sarah were already over halfway to the end. And I'll never forget the Bayou Teche moonlight paddle when the full moon did not rise until about 11 p.m. when we were loading up after having paddled several miles in the dark. As some of you may know, Harold discovered a newly formed island near the mouth of Atchafalaya. I propose that it be named Schoeffler Shoal. You heard it here first.
Remember that.
And next, I want everybody to know that I'm working on a YouTube channel, the name of which is Ecologic with Harold Schoeffler, on which I'm loading as many of these episodes as I can find onto this YouTube channel, Ecologic with Harold Schoeffler. Now, Kash, I want you to tell the story of how you met Harold and your background with him. Take it over.
I am a native of Abbeville, Louisiana, just south of Lafayette here. And I started hearing about Harold when I was a kid. And at 22 years old, I became a Louisiana state wildlife agent, assigned to Vermilion Parish, but working mainly with Vermilion, Acadia, and Jeff Davis. About 40 years ago, I think this spring will be 40 years, we had on Bayou Nepakay, which drains into the Mermentau River, some commercial fishermen show up from out of state, and they were targeting a fish that nobody in the area wanted to catch. It's known as a paddlefish, or spoonbill catfish if you prefer. All of a sudden, we had these people out of state show up, and they were catching them for the roe, for the eggs. And you know, when you're a state wildlife agent, sometimes you don't see past the area you work. Well, what are these people doing here from Tennessee and Kentucky and Mississippi trying to catch it? Caviar. After the Ayatollah took over in Iran, they had a worldwide trade embargo. You could not get caviar in America. So anyway, these fishermen showed up. They were breaking all kind of laws. And one of them told me one day, he says, "We're going to fish this river out." So I went to my people in Lake Charles, the biologist, said, "We need to study this. But we got to, emergency, shut this thing down." "Oh, we'll look at it. And I thought, well, Harold Schoeffler, head of the Sierra Club, I was like 24 years old. I said, I got to go out of the box. And so I set up an appointment with him and the head agent in Jeff Davis Parish. We laid out our case. And I said, look, let's just at least shut this thing down in spawning season. They're very much like salmon, these paddlefish. They'll go upstream, they'll go to a gravelly area, and conditions are rarely right for them. They only successfully breed about once every 5 years, and they're not even mature to breed. Males 4 years old at the earliest, females about 7, 8 years. So I presented my case with another agent, and Harold says, I'll look into that. Well, he looked into it. First of all, he made sure I wasn't telling him a big fat lie. He said, yeah, this guy's got something that is genuine here. Less than a month after I left Harold, it was on the cover of the Morning Advocate. The next day, it was on the cover of the New Orleans paper, the Times-Picayune, and less than a month, an emergency closure of paddlefish all over the state that lasted 25 years. So with the help of Harold, who certainly wasn't working for the government, his environmental activism, first, one of the main precepts of conservation is you don't destroy something if you know nothing about it. You know, you err on the side of conservation. And let's see what we have. And so they shut it down. I was hoping just for the Mermentau Basin. They studied it. It's like, oh, these fish are disappearing all over the state. Half the states they were once in, they no longer have them. So anyway, they were getting pennies on the pound for this stuff, for the meat. And then when they started selling caviar, think about it, 1980s, $15 a pound. And some of these fish could hold, 20, 30 pounds of eggs.
Let me ask you something. How did you know to contact Harold? Tell us that again.
Well, I just saw him as a boy growing up, that he'd be in the Morning Advocate, the Lafayette paper, or he'd be on TV about environmental issues. And I later, after I left the state of Louisiana, I became a federal wildlife agent, but I was very interested in conservation, including the Sierra Club. And it's like, here's this guy, Cadillac dealer, but yet he's very strong environmentally. And then, by the way, I'll bring to your attention, today is the birthday of Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt, by far the greatest conservation leader we've ever had from a government standpoint. And he just got things done. And I said, this Harold guy, I said, we need to go talk to him. He's not gonna, make friends. He's gonna get it done. And he did.
Another first in the annals of Ecologic. First time I ever heard Teddy Roosevelt mentioned on the show. Great story, Kash.
Thank you.
Sure appreciate that. So, I know Sarah, Harold's wife Sarah and daughter Catherine are out there listening. Maybe you could call in now and tell us a story or two, or some trash talking, or whatever suits you. We're
Our number is 337-366-8950. 337-366-8950. Give us a call if you want to have any comments or something to say.
we want Sarah.
Oh, excuse me.
Sarah to call in first.
Yes.
In the meantime, there we go. Hello, you're on the air,
Hey,
Ecologic.
Doctor, it's Sarah. Okay, I wanted to say hello and thank you to all of you who are putting this on tonight. Harold's real excited about it all, and he's sitting very close to the screen, listening to everything that's being said. And at that, I want to remember our very first date. At about 3 o'clock in the morning, Harold drives up to my mother's house pulling his brand new Roy Bro boat. And we take off to go to Sycamore Point to go fishing, of which I had never done any of that before in my life. So we get to Sycamore, we tie knots, we fill gas tanks, and we finally take off. And I looked out on the water and I said, "Oh, Harold, what is that? What is that great big orange thing sitting out on the water?" And he says, unbelieving that he's taking this woman out on his new boat, who does not even know that is the sun rising. We continued to go out. We did not catch any fish. We didn't talk. We didn't eat. But on our way back, we started catching fish. And we caught fish, and we caught fish, and we caught fish. And I got caught and very much in love with this man who is here before us all tonight.
Another
Thank
first
you,
for
Ron.
Ecologic, a romantic Harold story. Tell us a little bit more about the knot tying.
Oh, well, you know that he's a big knot tyer, and he would tie knots until the sun was going to set, but we had to get out on that boat. So he tied his knots, he got all of his boat knots tied for the day, and we took off. Look, I'm going to go get Catherine to come out.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Good story.
Good story. Thank you. So we're waiting now. We're waiting for Harold's daughter, Catherine, to join us. So, in the meantime, while we're waiting, one of my favorite stories that Harold has told me more than once was years ago. He was had found a state legislator to file a bill for the pipeline companies in the basin to restore their pipeline. I forgot the
Right of ways?
no, it's the restore the natural
Yes.
flow of the basin by reducing their pipeline shell. I forgot the name of it, but spoil banks. Thank you. They had the hearing in the committee, and the committee committee room was filled with oil company lobbyists or pipeline company lobbyists, and they voted it down, and then the lobbyists were handing out checks for the campaigns for the legislators who voted against this, and the head of the committee said, according to Harold, the head of the committee said, Harold, you need to bring us more bills like this. This is really good. So that's one of my favorite Harold stories.
That's a good
Okay, so we're still waiting on Catherine.
one. Yeah, we've hung up now, so.
We did?
Want to give them the number again? They ought to just,
The-
377,
They ha-
there you go. It's ringing.
Okay. Okay, hello, is this Catherine?
All right.
Hello.
Hello. This
Hey.
is Catherine
Hey, Catherine.
Como. I'm Harold's daughter.
Thanks for joining us.
Are you there?
Yes,
Yes.
thanks for joining us.
Yes. For sure. For sure. I've got a story about my father's resourcefulness. In every boat, he has a bamboo pole. The man, he has a special harvesting spot where he goes and he cuts bamboo. You might have seen he and the Boy Scouts out at Festival International. They when they were doing their information booth back in the 80s and the 90s and early 2000s, they would make their information booths out of bamboo poles. And he always keeps a bamboo pole on his fishing boats to use as a depth finder. You know, in shallow water, he'll stick his pole in to see how deep it might be. You let him know if he needs to trim his motors up or down. On one particular fishing trip, he wasn't using it much as a depth finder because we went way offshore. We were out fishing the rigs, and we were, mind you, in a small, flat boat with a single motor, fishing the oil rigs. It was getting pretty choppy. The waves were rocking us around, and so the fishing wasn't that good. And when we go to start heading home, the steering goes out on us. It's a boat that's got a steering wheel. That's what you take when you go way out on the rigs. But in this particular case, the steering went out, and we couldn't even see land from where we were. And I'm looking at my dad, wondering if we were going to tie up on a rig for the night and stay and just hope that someone came out for us. But he was busy getting out his bamboo pole and a little bucket of ropes, and he proceeded to lash the bamboo pole to the single outboard engine, and then he used that to steer us back all the way to land. And it's just one way that he takes the tools at hand and solves the problem. And an example, I guess, of his resourcefulness and determination to take what he has and use it to get on home and get everybody safe back to where they need to be.
That is a great story. I've never heard that one. It includes bamboo poles and tying knots. It's a perfect Harold story. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, but thank you so much for doing this. It's surely lifting spirits at a time when he needs it, we need it, and thank you.
Well, you're so welcome.
Thank you. Great
It's our
story.
pleasure.
Yeah, great story.
So you can hang up now, and let's see if anybody else wants to call in.
All right.
Thanks, Catherine.
Good night. Thank
you.
Thank you.
And we're gonna later on we're gonna ask Harold to call in. We want to see if we have any other calls. We had a call coming in while Catherine was talking. So if anybody, Vic Hummert, I know you're out there. Lillian, anybody from T. Coons?
Here we go.
Here we go. Here we go. Here's a customer. Hello, you're on Ecologic on the Harold Get Well show.
Hello.
Okay, who's this?
Hello. This is Peter Heller. I wrote the Outside article.
Oh my God,
Oh, thank you for calling in.
that's awesome. That's awesome. The show is yours. Yeah. How did you find out about?
Well,
the-
I called Harold to check in on him, and I guess Sarah texted me back with a show info, or somebody did.
Were you tuned in when I told my story about the article?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for calling. Anything you
Okay,
want to
yeah,
add?
yeah. No. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I'm on delay here.
Yes, you are.
think I'm
So
on
turn the
delay
sound
here,
turn the sound off on your whatever device you're using.
Okay, all right. Let me do that.
Well, how did you discover
right.
Harold to
So-
even do the article?
Well, so I was gonna I read those James Lee Burke books about the Dave Roby Show series, and I'm in Denver, Colorado, and I thought, I'm an outdoorsman. I thought, man, I don't know anything about the swamps down there, but I want to take a canoe down through the swamps. And I called my editor at National Geographic Adventure, and he said, that sounds cool. So I started calling the different people, Sierra Club in New Orleans, about it, and everybody I talked to said, you got to talk to Harold Schoeffler. He's the Cadillac dealer in Lafayette. And I said, well, why would I want to do that? And they said, well, because nobody knows the basin, the Atchafalaya Basin, better than Harold Schoeffler, and
Wow.
nobody is as well connected. And so I called him, and he said, I think I was driving down there with a canoe on the roof, and I had invited a friend, and she'd never been camping and never been in a canoe. And he said, you guys come stay the night, and we'll get you set up. I didn't know. I mean, the Cadillac dealer, heck. So we
Wow.
showed up. And he got me an aluminum Grumman that was way better suited than the one I had. And he packed a cooler full of frozen speckled trout and all sorts of fish, and cold Dr. Pepper, which is his favorite drink, and packed it all up for us, dropped us off at, I guess, in Henderson at the landing, and we started paddling down the Atchafalaya. This gal I was with, I mean, you know, when she saw it paddling at night, saw the little double red eyes that look like taillights of all the gators, and it was pouring rain, and she just was crying half the time. We finally, third night, I think we got to this island in the Atchafalaya, and we were camped. We had a fire, and I was trying to see if she could maybe make it the rest of the trip. And we hear this motor, and here comes this motorboat, and it's Sarah and Harold, and they've got a fresh cooler. They've got more fish. They've got more Dr. Pepper. They had a satellite map of the whole basin with all the sloughs, and so then we paddled into Blue Point Chute and then on into Lake Fawcett. We went all through and ended up at Morgan City. But that took a week, and ever since, Harold, we've had a 20-year-old friendship, and he is my absolute hero. He is I've written a lot of environmental stories for a lot of magazines, and this man is the single most effective environmentalist, I'm convinced, in the country.
Wow.
You know, all the stuff that he's accomplished with the reefs, with the produced waters in the swamps, with getting the Louisiana black bear listed, which is very tough to get endangered species. And he's, every time I do a story down there, you know, I go to Harold, I stay with him, and he gets me meetings with the general of the Army Corps of Engineers in charge of the district if it's about a flood, with the CEO of the Port of New Orleans. He gets me interviews with, and I want to say that when we were canoeing through the swamp, every time we met a crawfisherman, they already knew about us, and they treated us with kid gloves because they were all friends of Harold's. I mean, all the crawfishermen in the basin, because of the work he's done advocating for those guys against timber companies and all who are trying to, block them from their traditional fishing grounds up in the bayous. Everywhere we went, they were just, you're a friend of Harold, come, have a meal. And the man is he is a living legend, I think. I think he is one of the great grand human beings on the planet. And, I can't say it more. The man is unbelievable. And there's nobody smarter on earth about how to get things done in the environment.
Well, Mr. Heller, we are so excited that you found out about the show and you called in and told us what you told us. I'm just amazed. I agree with you 100%, and we sure appreciate you calling in. And thank you so much, and we're going to try to get some other calls now.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We got to get him beatified.
That was so amazing that the author of the article called in, Mr. Heller.
Yeah, this article appeared, I think, a little over 20 years ago.
2003. So, we're ready to take some more calls. You think we should tell Mr. Heller to call back?
Anyway, 337-366-8950.
That's on the,
Yes.
so we got about 29 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, good.
Hello. Turn off your sound on your TV. Who's calling?
Is it all? Judy Corn.
Hi, Judy.
Hello.
Hi.
Go ahead. You're on the air.
Oh my. Okay. I just thinking. Sarah had texted me about this, and at first I thought, well, I don't really know what I would say. But first of all, I just want to tell Hal I really was delighted yesterday to see how well he's doing. But I was thinking about the brothers, all of them, for years, and this is a long time since I guess we were in college even. They never come back on a Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, hunting or fishing, that they don't call each other and check in to be sure that everybody's home. And then they find out who caught what, and that's when the lies start. But at any rate, it's a marvelous tradition that they have, and I sure hope their sons are going to keep it up. Thank you.
Thanks for the story, Judy. How do you know Harold? Yes.
Well, I really knew his brother. We were all in the same, more or less in the same class at UL in college, and then I knew all the brothers. Charles was in my class. Bob was older, and we just, met him in college.
Yeah.
And we've been friends ever since. The families have. My husband was a hunting and fishing person with them a lot too.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for calling. It's a great story.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. We had whoever was calling a second ago can call back. The delay on the audio is kind of, if you're watching the show, the delay is kind of weird. You got to turn the sound off. So we're ready for another call.
Well, I like Catherine's story about them being offshore,
Yeah.
of course, out of sight of land, can't steer the boat. He preceded MacGyver. He could, with
MacGyver.
one little tool, like a knife and maybe a screwdriver, he can fix
Here we
things.
go.
Go ahead.
Hello, Ecologic. You're on the air.
Hi, my name is Geraldine DeFaya,
Yes. Turn your
and I'm watching your
sound off of your TV.
tell.
Go ahead.
Turn the.
That's okay. Go ahead.
What you want me to? You want me to?
Hello, Ecologic, you're on the air.
Yeah, you turned your sound off on your TV.
My name is Geraldine DeFaya.
Wait, you want me to turn something down?
Can you
Turn
mute
off the
mute your
TV?
sound on your TV?
The sound on the TV.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Is
better.
that better?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I had lived in Colorado for about 5 years back in the early 70s. And so I got really, introduced to protecting the environment and, you know, stuff like that. And so when I came back in the mid-'70s, I was introduced to, I heard about Pack and Paddle, so I went there, and then they, you know, I found out about the Sierra Club that way, and then they introduced me to Harold and Sarah because they were very active in the Sierra Club. And one time I was at their house, and they said, "Hey, how would you like to go gigging for frogs?" And I went, "What?" And they said, "Oh yeah, we why don't you come with us? It would be fun, you know." So I said, "Oh, okay." I wouldn't have trusted anybody else, but I trusted them, you know. So I went, and they had this. I can't remember what it was, but Sarah would throw this thing out that had a little loop on the end, and it would go around the frog's neck, and then she'd pull it in, and we started having an electric storm. In other words, it was lightning at night, and I was so scared. I couldn't believe it that we were out there in the basin, and they were like, "Oh no, this is no big deal. You know, we do this all the time." And I said, "Okay," you know, but and they caught a lot of frogs that way. I never knew what exactly they did with them. I'm sure they cooked them and ate them, but I had never done that before, you know. So anyway, that was my experience with Harold and Sarah, and they are great people. I adore them. They are so honest and so forthright, and I just think a lot of them.
So your name is Catherine?
No, my name is Geraldine.
Oh, Geraldine, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for calling.
Okay.
That's a great story.
It is.
Thank you so much.
It was a good story. Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. These are great stories. We're ready for another call. If they're calling in while we're speaking, I don't know how to put them on hold or anything. We just have to, is there anyone else want to call in? Now's the time. So, the story I was going to tell was Harold took me out in the basin one time, and we were going to see if St. Martin Parish was if anybody was illegally harvesting cypress off of a Section 16 land near Butte. There we go. Here's a caller. Hold that thought. Hello, Ecologic, Harold Get Well Show.
Hello.
Yes, hello. Who's this?
Can you hear? This is Dave Dixon.
Hey, Dave. Thanks
Hey,
for
Dave.
calling. Go
Well,
ahead.
I got a story.
Go ahead.
I got a couple stories. All right, I'll start with the first one. The first one, Harold and I were in Baton Rouge on the Mississippi River boat that the Corps of Engineers use for the low water inspection. And there was maybe even 100 people there. And there was a lot of presentations, and everybody was limited to 5 minutes because you had the whole Mississippi River Commission, the head of the Corps of Engineers, the people from Pittsburgh. Everybody was on that boat. That's got to do with managing flooding and such on the Mississippi River. And they had a strict 5-minute limit to everybody's presentation, and I mean they cut you off. And Harold did one, and I did one, and along with a lot of other people. And then General Honore, y'all know General Honore, who was the general that went into New Orleans after Katrina and kind of got things going there. He got up there, and he started talking. Well, they let him go way over 5 minutes. He was the last speaker, and the last thing he said, Harold was sitting back in the audience there. He turned around and he pointed to Harold. And he looked at those Corps of Engineers guys and Mississippi River Commission. And he says, "Y'all see that guy sitting over there? Whatever he tells y'all, that's what y'all need to do." Because he knows what to do. Okay.
That's
and
a good
the
one.
second story is, since since he loves retention ponds so much, we've been working with the parish, and we're making arrangements to put him his own retention pond in his backyard. And we're going to dig a channel to the river where he can, he can paddle from the river right into his retention pond. And if we get lucky, we might be able to convince him to leave an island in the middle of the retention pond, and we can give it a name. We can call that one Harold's Island.
Yeah.
Kind of like Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, he's like Batman. He needs an escape,
Yeah.
Great stories, Dave. Thank you so much for calling.
Thanks, Dave.
Y'all take care. Bye.
Appreciate it. That was a good one. So we had somebody calling in while Dave was on the line. So y'all call back now, and maybe I can continue my other story. He took me out there in the basin, and first of all, we went and looked at the grounds where they had a Civil War campaign near Butte La Rose. And he told me some of the history of that. There wasn't, all there was some levees that were overgrown, and you couldn't really see any of the old fortifications or anything like that. But then we went and we looked, went way back on dry land, and I swear I've never seen bigger cypresses on dry land. Some of them had to be, I don't know what circumference, but they were huge. Huge cypresses. Never seen them that big on dry land. And then I saw these other trees. The canopy didn't start until 100 feet up or so, but I saw this other tree that was huge. And I said, I couldn't tell what kind of tree it was, and Harold said it was a willow tree. And I didn't know willow trees got that big. Okay, so if nobody else is calling in, we got 19 minutes. Go ahead.
Go ahead. We keep doing the show. We'll be
366-8950. I think we have a very local caller is getting ready to call in. There we go. Hello.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes. Who is this?
Hey, this is Dave Bagdo.
Thanks for calling, Dave. What you got?
Hey, well, I have so many Harold stories I wouldn't know where to begin. But I really want to take it back to the beginning. I met Harold and Sarah and his whole family when we were doing the scouting thing. And my son, he was transitioning from Cub Scouts to Boy Scouts, and we were shopping for a Boy Scout troop. And most of the other scouts went to some other troops, and we saw Harold and some other members at church one day. It was Scout Sunday, and people were saying, if you go in that troop, it's going to make you paddle really hard and do, it's going to be a lot of work and everything. And it turned out to be the best thing that's ever happened to us.
Wow.
We've been friends for over 20 years, and I've been around this, chased that man around the country from here to Little Bighorn in Montana and Colorado. You name it, we paddled in the basin. And the other thing that he is, he introduces people to litter pickup and making your community a better place. This morning, it was before daybreak. I was out there at 5 in the morning picking up litter on the side of the road, and it was the funniest thing I've seen. I've seen a truck go by pulling a shuffler boat on its way, I guess, to Coastal City to go fishing, either one of his sons or his grandson or somebody like that. And I said, look at that. There goes that boat right there. But anyhow, he saved more trees in Lafayette, Louisiana, planted more trees. His motto is to plant more trees than they can cut down. If you can plant one more tree and everything like that. But, he really instills volunteering and taking pride in your community, him and Sarah both, his whole family and everything. I have one little story. Was a few years ago, Harold decided he wanted to navigate the Mississippi River from St. Louis back to Butte La Rose in a small aluminum boat. And a few people said, that sounds crazy to me. I don't know if you want anything to do with that. And I volunteered to be the chase crew, okay? So we jumped in his truck one Saturday morning with a small aluminum boat, Harold and Sarah and drove non-stop to St. Louis, Missouri, and spent the night. And the next morning, I dumped them in the river and proceeded to chase them back to Butte La Rose, Louisiana, in the Mississippi River. And it was an amazing experience. You know what I got to see. And I was in New Madrid. I don't know if that was Mississippi or Arkansas, or whatever. And I was looking out onto that river, and I knew they were coming sooner or later, but it was a violent rainstorm going on, and then out of the rain, here comes that little boat popping out of the rain with Harold and Sarah, and I backed down the ramp, and I had another fuel tank to swap out with, and Harold didn't get out the boat. He just gave me the empty fuel tank, the other fuel tank, and took off again.
Wow.
So that's probably a record, realistically. I know it's about 750 miles from St. Louis to Butte La Rose by way of the river, and they did it in 3 days. We stopped in Natchez, Mississippi, and we had to go to an auto parts store and buy all the J.B. Weld they had in stock where the boat split open from the violent pounding, and we glued the boat back together in the front.
Oh, my God.
And it was a really neat experience. And a follow-up to that experience was when he was on the river a few days before, he took a picture of this gal in a kayak, and she was paddling the entire Mississippi River, and a few weeks later, we found out she was in New Orleans and working her way down to the mouth of the Mississippi River. So Harold and I hooked up his boat, and we went down to Venice, Louisiana, and got in the boat, and we went down and watched this gal paddle into the Gulf, complete her trip. And we were invited to go have supper at this really nice lodge down there at Port Eads. And they offered her a room for the night, and we already had our tent set up on the beach in the marsh with the mosquitoes and everything. And she almost took these people up on their offer of the room, and Harold looked at her and said, he goes, "You can do that anytime." He goes, "Sleeping on that beach, that's a once-in-a-lifetime experience." And she said on her whole trip for however many months it was probably the most miserable night she ever had because of mosquitoes and everything. And you have to realize mosquitoes can't bite Harold, okay? I've been on scouting trips where we've been in the basin, and everybody's swatting mosquitoes and everything, and they just, I guess there's something in his body that naturally repels mosquitoes. They don't go near them or anything like that. So anyhow, it's been a wonderful experience, all these trips with him, especially the scouting trips and everything. There was a motto in the troop when you're traveling. We cover a lot of miles per day, and the motto was, "You don't pee till the gate says eat." And I've seen some kids and adults squirming. You learn not to drink coffee when you take off and everything. But we've had some wonderful experiences all over this country, especially paddling in the canoes and everything.
Thank you so much, Dave. I remember that Mississippi trip that y'all took was one of the subjects of the Ecologic show, and I think it's on my YouTube channel. So thank you so much for calling. Let's get some other calls.
Yeah,
You got one.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you so much.
Get well, Harold.
Hello, you're on the air.
Yeah, this is General Honorary down in Baton Rouge.
Okay.
Army retired. Just calling in to see good wishes and fair skies and following seas to my good friend Harold Schoeffler. One of the smartest men I know. I call him the godfather of the Atchafalaya Basin.
That's a good one. General Honorary, thank you so much for calling. It's so great to hear from you. Thank you for all your hard work, too.
Well, I tell you, Mr. Schoeffler is like a walking encyclopedia on the Atchafalaya Mississippi River Basin. The Corps engineers, when they want to know what's really going on, they refer to Mr. Schoeffler. We wish him well and a speedy recovery. And he's one of the hardest working, most dedicated people in Louisiana I know to conserving our water, our waterways, our wetlands, our crawfish, our hunting areas. He is a treasure, and I got to get a book out of him and get him to write a book as he recover. And we wish him well and Godspeed in his recovery. I really miss talking to him. He'd call me once a week with some big project in mind, all of it with the good intention of helping to preserve the largest swamp in North America, and that is the Atchafalaya Basin. So we wish him well, and I've learned a lot from him.
It's so good to hear from you, General Honorary. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you, General.
Good vibes, Mr. Harold. Good vibes.
Bye.
God bless.
Thank you.
Prayers up.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, that's amazing. General Honorary, Peter Heller. Wow. David Begnaud called. This is amazing.
We're getting a lot of good calls.
So, once again, while General Honorary was talking, we had a call coming in, so that person can call back. We got 10 minutes, a little over 10 minutes. So, Sarah and Catherine, if you want to get Harold on the air and be another first for Ecological, Harold would call into his own show. That would be nice. So, okay, here we go. Hello.
Well, hello. This is Byron Holmes. How are you?
Hello, Mr. Holmes. Thanks for calling.
Hey, Byron.
Hello, Kash. It's good to hear the show. I'm glad y'all are honoring Harold tonight. He and Sarah are the best of the best. And as Kash will tell you, I'm not normally pithy about my comments, but I've got to say this. Harold Schoeffler is one of the greatest community leaders in the state of Louisiana, but particularly in Acadiana. I've known Harold for a number of years. He's always been honest, straightforward, and the issues he knows about economic development, about restoring Section 16 lands so that our children can get better educated in this state, and just a myriad of issues we could talk about all night long. He has a command that I haven't seen anyone else in this state have. And I just want to let Harold know that from all of us, including those listening, including you guys, his family, and all the people that love him, how much we are praying for him and hoping that all goes well. He looked great when I saw you last week, Harold, and he looked great tonight when I saw you on FaceTime. And I want to thank you for the privilege of being your friend and for knowing you, and wish you Godspeed.
Those are wonderful remarks and comments, Mr. Holmes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Byron.
Thank you for the opportunity. Great to hear y'all on the air tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Good deal. 8 minutes, and a little over 8 minutes.
Give us a ring.
Yeah.
You don't want us talking for too long. Give us a ring.
Let's see if I left anything out.
There we go. We got a call.
Got a call? Hello.
Well, thank
Turn-
you.
Turn it in.
All right.
He's back. Talk to it.
Hello.
Hello.
Talk to it. Say hello.
Hello.
Who's this, Harold?
Yes, it is.
How's it feel calling into Ecologic?
We stole your show.
Well, anyway, I wanted to share with you the island, how we found it. Catherine's here, so we were going out a couple of weeks ago, and we saw this area out here. We were out 5 miles, and we were out, in what was normally around 10 feet of water. And so I'm on a course I've been regularly following. And so anyway, the Catherine says, damn, it's getting calm. Why is that happening? And I said, well, golly, I looked at my depth recorder, and I was in 2 feet of water. And so then I looked to the south, and there was a bunch of pelicans sitting on dry land.
Wow.
Wow. And I thought, wow, holy mackerel, So anyway, with that, the next couple of days, I called Paul Kemp. He got John Day. We got LSU involved.
Paul actually went out onto the island, and of course he's the only person that's been on the island, and it's kind of made national news. You know, it was really an experience. LSU, it figures it's 3,000 acres.
Wow.
Of which about 800 acres is above water.
Wow.
And so anyway, so we've been fooling with that, you know. Then hurricane.
Was it Helene? What was it?
Helene, yes.
Yeah.
Francine.
Francine, right.
Yeah. So Hurricane Francine came right through the area. Right from about 5 miles from that, they have a recording station that belongs to the Port of Morgan City, and they recorded a 105 miles an hour wind. So Hurricane Francine came through there.
Did it wipe out the island? What happened?
Well, I don't know.
Oh.
Haven't been able to go out there again.
Did nobody ever figured out exactly how it was formed, right?
No. According to LSU, it's getting sediment from the Wax Lake outlet, from the river channel itself, from dredge spoil, which, by the way, there wasn't enough spoil in there to fill it. They didn't accumulate that much spoil. Then you have a rock weir that this is the end of, and then you got the Locust Bayou, which is the main point of fur drain. That's the Locust Bayou, which was a problem in shell dredging. And then, so anyway, we, between those 5 sources, we have a potential of being one of the newest lands on the coast of Louisiana. We haven't had new lands form out there since the 1960s. I mean,
So
that was the site. That's the site of site that I mean, the LSU has elected to study it and determine if we have it growing some more. And so anyway.
Well, Harold, to me, the most important thing is, are you going to name it the name that I proposed, Schoeffler Shoals? What are we going to name this out?
Yeah.
That's the most important thing, I think.
Well, you know, the bird life is just going to love it. It won't take them long to start nesting, and it'll help the fisheries. It'll help cut down on our problems with hurricanes. So it's, like you say, it's great to get some new land pop up where you least expect it.
Right.
Well, Harold, I thought it was pretty amazing. Peter Heller called in, and then General Honore, and even David Begnaud called in.
Yeah.
You heard, we had some great calls and some great stories, some ladies telling the stories about frog gigging and what all. So anyway, we got about a minute and a half left. Nobody else is calling in, so Harold, the floor is still yours if you want to say anything else. If not, it's okay.
Well, anyway, I would like to say thank you to Peter Heller and General Honore and all the others that called in. Those are the most notable. And with that, I'll close and say we appreciate y'all doing this, and
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we wish you all the best in your recovery.
Absolutely.
We got 1 minute, so I got another call coming in. Let me try that. Thanks, Harold.
Yep.
Hello, we got 45 seconds. Go.
All right.
You're wasting time. What you got? Who's this?
Oh, this is Robert Andrews, calling in to wish Harold speedy recovery. I've always said that Harold gave me some of the greatest stories that I've ever had in my life. And if I had a little more time, I'd love to share some of those stories with you and the group.
We might do this again next month.
Yep,
20
that
seconds.
sounds good.
You got 20 seconds. So,
all right.
Thank you for
No,
calling.
thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye. So, okay, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Get well, Harold. Love you.